Hi everyone, hope you're well. In today's video, I'm going to be looking at the WWE release Randy Savage, the Macho Man story. I'm using the Blu-ray version. I was originally going to use the DVD version, but purely for extra content reasons and value for money, saving space, etc., I decided to go with the Blu-ray version. It was released in 2014 and it has just under 7.5 hours of content. The reason we're looking at this release is the recent passing of Lanny Poffo, who was the brother of WWE legend Randy the Macho Man Savage. And the documentary isn't just featuring the usual talking heads that you get in WWE documentaries. You get a number of legends included, but more importantly, you get interview footage from Randy Savage himself, and perhaps even more poignantly now, from Lanny, his brother. And some of you may remember Lanny in the 90s when he worked under the manager gimmick, the Genius. He managed the tag team, the Beverly Brothers. What's also lovely for me in this documentary is that we also get to meet briefly their father, Angelo Poffo. Very short clip of him talking. And we also get to meet several times their mother, Judy. So it's a very poignant and moving documentary. And that's demonstrated right from the off. We start actually at the scene, unfortunately, of Randy's passing. And you hear clips of him over his career, catchphrases, etc. from promos, with a vision of a car wheel getting faster and faster, the momentum of his career, and then you see the tree where he passed, and you see and hear Lanny talking. So it's a very emotive, emotional start. You also, in the documentary early on, get to meet some of his teachers from his time at school when he was going through other sports, other than his love of wrestling. And we learn, for example, his passion, not just whatever he chose to do, he was 200% into it. Baseball was actually going to be his main career, but that didn't work out, and hence why he got back into his other love of wrestling. But we see through several examples just how passionate he was with whatever he was committed to. And as I say, he was committed 200% no matter what he was doing. And he was always one of the first ones to give of himself ideas, coming up with ways he could self-improve, etc. And you get that sense all the way through, as we do with Lanny, his sense of brotherly loyalty to Randy and the love of his other family members as well. You really get emotionally invested and you feel like you know the family and you know more about them, particularly with this Blu-ray release. Some of the stories that are featured as extras outside of the documentary add to it more so, but we'll talk about the extras a little bit later on. Through the documentary, Randy explains how he was given the name of Macho Man and where that all came from. And if you're a long time fan and you're a fan of his work particularly, you might be surprised to know, if you've not seen this release already, that he was extremely, extremely nervous about performing, going on camera, even in front of the microphone for his promos. And so he was asking advice, and someone said to him, who are your idols? Who do you look up to? And he mentions a wrestler. And one of the wrestlers that he looked up to did a catchphrase of saying, "Oh yeah," a bit similar to how he said it. But then he adopted it and he adapted it into a catchphrase of his own. He took that tone of voice, the inflections of his voice, and he adapted it to over time into his own character, his own persona, that style of talking. And from there, he didn't look back. You then started to see the colourful hats, the glasses, the costumes, how it all came together. We meet the person that was actually designing his costumes for him, and they talk a little bit about him using Land of Hope and Glory as his theme music, so you get to know how the overall presentation came together. You learn during the documentary, obviously we get into when Elizabeth becomes his manager, and you learn about their lives personally outside of wrestling, and everyone remembers the SummerSlam, the wedding, the famous wedding between the two of them on TV. Well, ironically, they were going through personal difficulties at the time, and they weren't very close at all, so imagine what it must have been like for them, portraying them still being at their happiness when they're so evidently weren't close at the time. That must have been really hard for them. You learn about how protective Randy was towards Elizabeth, both as his partner outside and within wrestling as well. He used to, there were rumours that he used to lock her in their room backstage before she became his on-screen manager, and he wouldn't allow her out while he was performing. This is quite vehemently disputed by Lanny, and he said that Randy Savage was just purely trying to protect her, amongst other things. In fact, if anyone said anything against Randy, Lanny sticks up for him and he takes his side no matter what. So it's pure brotherly love. You couldn't get any closer bond that they had, and I identify with that very much myself. So it's a very moving documentary. You go through his whole career, all his personal life, looking back at his greatest matches and moments. As I say, there's a lot of footage between him, between Lanny, the family. A lot of legends are included as well. Jake the Snake, DDP, there's absolutely loads of legends included. Jimmy Hart, which really enhances this. And then we get on to the matches. Now, I'm going to include photos of all the matches. You might not be able to see all of them very well. So what I suggest, if you do decide to buy this, or if you want to go online further and have a look at this product in more detail, I would suggest going through the matches more prominently that way, because there is no insert to pull out and look at the matches, so you have to remove the discs, as you'll see from the photos, just to see the contents underneath, which I find very frustrating and very difficult to do. I'm not a fan of that at all. I wish they would still include the inserts. I know that physical media isn't perhaps a favourite thing of WWE, with a lot of things now, so it's all going to streaming. But you do get about 5 or 6 matches as extras, and there's a good 7, well, yeah, there's a good 5 or 6 matches, then there's a whole load of extra story and interview clips on the extras that weren't included on the DVD. Plus, the other advantage on disc 1 of the Blu-ray is that the first third of matches, I would say, that are included on the DVD on the second disc are included on the first disc of the Blu-ray with the documentary, so you don't have to keep swapping things around to really carry on enjoying the matches and different material. And the documentary ends in the same place as we started, with Lanny at the tree where Randy passed following the car accident, and paying tribute to his brother and saying a poem, as he used to do as the Genius. Quite often he was renowned for saying poems at the beginning of his team's matches, and he says a poem for his brother at the end, which is even more emotional now when you think that they're reunited. So yeah, that did definitely get a lump in my throat. I would say this is extremely good value for money, especially if you're a fan of Randy Savage, and if you want to pay tribute in your own way to his brother as well, then this is definitely one to get. This follows on from the Ultimate Collection release on DVD previously to that, and then since this release we've also had another DVD release of unreleased Randy Savage matches. Those two are more just match and promo releases, whereas for this one you get the very, very excellent, thorough documentary as well. Out of the 3, I'd say this was definitely the one to go for. Anyway, folks, that's my review of Randy Savage, The Macho Man Story on Blu-ray. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, please feel free to give us a like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't to the channel already. And the next video upcoming will be my review of the recent biopic film about Whitney Houston, I Want to Dance with Somebody. So take care.